So today we're going to work on, I have a filter problem, so. We're going to work on adding and subtracting decimals. Now, the strategy I want you to use for addition and subtraction is very similar to what we did yesterday when we lined up the decimals to figure out which ones were smaller and which ones were larger, okay? So what you want to do is line up your numbers by the decimal point like buttons on a shirt. And then go to the far right column and add. Bring your decimals straight down. So let's go ahead and illustrate how you would do that. I have the number 86. Which I've written down as the answer here, because I don't really want you to focus on the answer, I want you to focus on the process. So just like we would add whole numbers, remember, for every whole number, there's a decimal at the end of the whole number, whether you see it there or not. You're going to line it up by the place values, so we have 55, 8, and 23 that we've lined up by the ones place. And then we just add the columns. We know that 5, 8, and 3 would be 16. We carry the 1. And then 5, 1, and 2 would be 8. You'll do the same thing with decimals. Add your 1s, then add your 10s. So, likewise, when you're subtracting, line up your numbers by the place values. So we have 469 minus 17. We're going to subtract using the far right column. 9 minus 7 is 2. 6 minus 1 is 5. And 4 minus nothing is 0. So just like we do this with whole numbers, we're going to do the same thing with decimals. And that's why today's assignment should be pretty easy. Just line it up by the decimals. So when adding and subtracting decimals, it's the same as adding and subtracting whole numbers, which we just reviewed. But you want to make sure that you line everything by the decimal point. For example, if you have 4 and 12 hundredths, and you have 5 and 67 hundredths, you would line them up like this, buttons on a shirt. Line those decimals up. And then if our operation is addition, we start at the far right column. So what am I going to have in this right column here? A 9, and then what? A 7, and then bring down your decimal. So we have 9 in the far column, then we have a 7, and then just bring your decimal straight down because you lined it up by the decimal place. And then what's 4 plus 5? 9. So what is this number that I have for my sum? Read it correctly now. 9 and what? 9 and 79 hundredths. 9 and 79 hundredths. So it's very similar to what we did with whole numbers. Just line them up by the decimal. Now, even with no decimal present, remember whole numbers have a decimal at the end of them, whether you see it there or not. So if I have this as an example, 8.99, and I'm going to add that to 3. You need to line it up like this. 8.99, and then you know 3 is like $3. So the 3 needs to be under the 8 because that's in the ones place. However, I know there's a decimal after this 3. Now visually, you might want to put a decimal and then 2 zeros to help you see that. 9 minus 0 is 9. 9 minus 0 is 9. But what's 8 minus 3? 5, but I need to still bring my decimal down. So when I subtract this, I'm going to get 599. So just treat this 3 as 3.00. That might help you if you're visual. Now, consider the whole number 15. 15 is equal to 110 and 15. We could put a decimal to separate the whole number from the decimal. We could say 15.0. That's the same as 15. There is no value in the tens place, but that's okay. It's still equal to 15. Now, if you were adding 15 plus 12, you could write 15.0 plus 12.0. You would get 27.0. 27.0 is exactly the same as just 27. You can put that 0 in the tens place and it doesn't change the value. That's the key here. If you need to put some zeros to help you visually, then go ahead and put that understood decimal place there. It helps sometimes. So let's say I have this particular problem. And in this problem, I'm going to put the understood zeros because sometimes students just have trouble visualizing it. Where do you think I'm going to stick that understood 0 in this problem? Where the 9 is, yes. Also, 2.3. Now, how many decimal places do I have here with 2.3? 1, but notice I have 3 here and I have 3 here. You might want to put 2 understood zeros after this 3 just so everything's lined up. So let's plug those in. It doesn't change the value, but it will help you visually when you add and line them up. So this is a technique you may want to use. So notice that the 9 that I had as a whole number, I changed to 9.000. And then the 2.3, I changed to 2.300. The values are the same, but I put zeros in the spaces so that I could see it clearly. Now it makes it much easier for me to add. So when you need to have the understood 0, go ahead and put it there. It will help guide you. Line everything up by the decimal point like buttons on a shirt. So let's start at the far right column. What is 6 plus 5? 11, carry the 1. And then what is 1 plus 5 plus 7? 13, carry the 1. And then 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 3. 4. And then I'm just going to bring my decimal straight down because that's the next thing to put in the problem, in the sum. And then what's 9 plus 2? 11. So my answer becomes 11 and 431 thousandths. But using those understood zeros helps me add this and line it up correctly. Here's another example. Now this is a subtraction example. Where should I stick my understood zeros? Not over the 6. On the other side of the 3, right? So it makes it easier for me to do my borrowing. Okay, so putting the understood 0, especially in subtraction, is really helpful. All right? Now, let's go ahead and subtract since we have to borrow. I cannot take 5 from 0, so where am I going to borrow? I've got to go not to this one, but all the way to the 3. And I'm going to take 1 away from the 3, and it becomes a 2. I add that to this 0, which becomes a 10, but now I have to take 1 from it. It's going to be a 9. And now I have 10 here. Now I can borrow. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. 2 minus 0 is 2. I bring my decimal straight down. Now, can I take 8 from 6? No, so I got to borrow. But when I go to the next place value, it's a 0, so there's nothing to borrow there. So I have to go all the way to 4, make it a 3 when I borrow, go to the 0, make it a 10, and I have to borrow 1 from the 10. And now the 6 will become 16 because now I've had to borrow and got my 10. So 16 minus 8 is 8. And 9 minus 2 is 7. And 3 minus 2 is 1. So my answer is 178 and 275 thousandths. So I'm still doing the same borrowing, but in this case you want to put those understood zeros to help you with your solutions to your problems. It just makes it visually more appealing and it's more helpful. Line them up like buttons on a shirt by the decimal place. Are there any questions on using this technique to add and to subtract? Okay. Okay, here's another example for addition. Where am I going to put the understood zeros? After the 3, I'm going to put 2 of them. And after the 6, I'm going to put 3 of them because there are 3 decimal places. Now I can add. 8 and 4 is 12. Carry the 1. Excuse me. 8 and 1 is 9, plus 3 is 12 again. Carry the 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9. Bring down the decimal. Then I've got 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 6 is 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. So my sum for this decimal problem is going to be 16 and 922 thousandths. My subtraction example, I'm going to line them up. Now where am I going to put my understood zeros? After the 4, and how many will I have? 2, okay? Now I've got to borrow because I can't take 4 from 0. I have to go all the way to this 4, make it a 3, make this 10 a 9, and now I've got 10. So 10 minus 4 is 6, 9 minus 3 is 6, 3 minus 0 is 3. I bring down my decimal. I've got to do some more borrowing. I can't take 1 from 0, so I have to go all the way to 9, make it an 8, make the 0 that's next to it 10, and borrow 1 to make it a 9. And now I've got 10 minus 1, which is 9, 9 minus 8, which is 1, and 8 minus 1, which is 7. So my difference here would be 719 and 366 thousandths. I'm in the thousands place here. Are there any questions on these two examples? So you guys think you got it? If you got it, I've got 10 problems. I'd like the answers to these 10 problems. You and your table mates get the answers to these 10 problems and we'll go over them in a few minutes. Now that we have the answers, are there any debates? Are there any debates on any of the answers before I pop my answers up there? And let's compare. You guys said that this one is 61.52. That's what I got. Number 2, you said is 113.4. That's what I got. Number 3, you said is 122.4. That's what I got. Number 4, you say is 17.6. That's what I got. Number 5, you guys say that that's 180.9. That's what I got. Number 6, is that a 91.2? Okay, 91.2. And that's what I got. Number 7, 440.7 should be correct. Number 8, you say is 16.10. It's the same as 16.1, so that's fine. And then number 9, you guys said is 26.06. And that's what I got as well. And on number 10, you guys say that it's 36.1. And that's what I got. You guys have 100%. Give yourselves a hand. You guys did good. Even though I saw some people cheating with the calculators on their phone. Yeah. Okay. It looks like you guys really understand this. Be sure to use the strategy of using the zeros, the understood zeros, so you can borrow and line it up correctly. Here's another drill. Go ahead and write these problems down. Do those with your table mates. And then I'd like you to start your packets. Yes, you and your table mates. We're going to pause this one and get the answers as well. Now, the reason I like this one is because there's a couple of combo ones for you to do as well. That's the one she's doing. I cannot read what you're doing, sweetheart. Okay, for number 1, we got 8.75. For number 2, 1.35. Number 3, 28.45. Number 4, 121.12. Number 5, 209. Number 6, 404.88. Number 7, 750.77. Oh, I'm sorry, 750.757. I forgot the 5. And number 8, 91.05. Okay, let me do it with you, honey, in a second. And then number 9, you should get 1,427.15. And number 10, you should get 145.705. Question? Oh. Let's go back. Which one did you have a question about? Number 9. On number 9, what you should do first, okay, Rebecca, what you should do first is take 607.55 and add it to 885. Do the addition first. So that'll give you 55 here because we're going to fill in zeros. And then you're going to get 12, 9, and then 14. Then you're going to subtract, what's the subtraction? 65.4, but then we've got to rename this one and subtract. Well, it's addition and then subtraction. So I get 14, 27, 15, right? You need to get some glasses, girl. Does that help, Natasha? You got that? Okay. All right. Everybody's got the answers now. All right, y'all. I like the combos, but you have to be careful with those combos, right? All right. Now, on you guys' packet today, you do not have to do the extended practice. It's optional. But you do need to do that application on checking. Remember, deposits and credits are added to your bank account. Withdrawals and fees and writing a check or taking money out of the ATM are subtraction to your balances. So be careful of when to add and when to subtract. Read that page if you're not used to using a bank account. I want you and your table mates to work on this packet until break time, which is 9:30. Okay? Work on the packet.